All right, we got another joke today. Let's take a look. No matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary. No matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary. Do you get it? Well, this joke is pretty challenging to understand, I think. If I couldn't imagine understanding a joke like this in another language because it involves two puns. And remember, a pun is a word or a phrase with more than one meaning. Okay, now one of these puns is an idiom and the other pun is just a word. Okay, can you spot the idiom? Where do you think it is? Which is the idiom here and which pun is just the word? Well, I'll tell you. Okay, the idiom is push the envelope. To push the envelope. Okay, so that phrase has two meanings and the word stationary has two meanings. Okay, so really there are like four meanings that we have to understand here. Okay, so let's read the joke. No matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary. Okay, so let's tackle the phrase push the envelope first. Let's tackle that first. Tackle means let's try to understand that first. Okay, so push the envelope. Now, an envelope is something you use to send a letter, right? If you want to send a letter, you write your letter and then you put the letter inside an envelope and then you lick it closed. And then you send it off, right? So that's an envelope. Now, if you push the envelope, I don't know why anyone would push. If you push the envelope, it would be like this. Imagine this is the envelope here. I'm pushing it, right? I'm pushing it, right? So that the phrase could mean that, to push the envelope. Now, that's not really a normal thing. You know, it's more natural to understand this phrase as an idiom. Okay, so any normal English speaker reading this would understand this as an idiom. Okay, push the envelope. It doesn't have anything to do with envelopes. Okay, to push the envelope means to go beyond the limit of what is possible or acceptable. Okay, so you're trying to push the limit, to push the boundary of what is possible or acceptable. I'll give you some examples. Imagine a woman in Iran or Saudi Arabia wants to walk around outside without wearing a head covering. Okay, so she goes to the government and says, "Can you please change the law on head coverings because I want to go shopping and go on walks outside without wearing a head covering." Okay, she would be pushing the envelope, right? She's trying to do something that is not acceptable in their society, right? So she's pushing the envelope. Or imagine a smartphone company, okay, thinking, let's be the first company to design a smartphone that flips, a smartphone that folds. Wow, they would be pushing the envelope because all smartphones look the same, basically. It doesn't matter if you have a Samsung phone, a Huawei phone, an Apple phone. They're all basically the same thing. It's like a rectangle, a screen, some cameras, right? But imagine if a company said, "Hey, let's make that, but it folds." Well, actually, Samsung did that today. Today they released the Samsung Flip. Isn't that cool? It's a normal looking phone that it flips. That's awesome. So Samsung is pushing the envelope, right? That's why I love technology so much because, technology companies are always trying to push the outer edges of what's possible, right? They're pushing the envelope. Okay, so that's basically the meaning of the idiom, to push the envelope. Okay, so remember there's two meanings here. One meaning is to push the envelope. That would be the literal meaning, which is sort of weird. Nobody would do that. Nobody would think of that meaning. And the more common meaning is the idiom, which means to push the boundaries. Okay, so now let's think about those two meanings and let's move on to the next pun, which is the word stationary. Okay, so do you know both meanings of stationary? Stationary has two meanings. If you don't understand one of the meanings, this joke won't be funny. That's why it's important that's why I'm making lessons like this, to teach you guys just the meanings of these words. Because if you don't understand both meanings, then it just has no humor, right? Then you just see a picture of a dog. Now, by the way, I don't know why there's a picture of a dog here. I don't know what the dog has to do with this joke, in case you were wondering. Right, remember in my last video with the corn, I know it's corny, but you're amazing. Remember that joke in my last lesson? I know it's corny. There was a picture of corn, an ear of corn, a cob of corn. Remember that? Well, in this one, I don't know why there's a dog wearing a suit. What does it have to do with this joke? I'm not sure. Maybe I'm missing something. So sometimes, even native English speakers don't get a joke. We don't understand it because maybe there's a word or an idiom that we don't understand. Native English speakers don't know everything. You'd be surprised. Do you know everything in your language? Do you understand every joke in your language? Sometimes I don't understand words in English. Sometimes I don't understand phrases. Now, I get this joke. I think it's funny. Now, I don't know what it has to do with a dog. I don't know why the person who made this joke, put a picture of a dog wearing a suit. If you find another meaning for this joke, then let me know down in the comments why the dog is wearing a suit. Okay, but let's just sort of forget about the dog for now, because I don't know why it's there. Okay, I just wanted to tell you that. Okay, so now let's talk about stationery. The two meanings of stationery. The first meaning is paper. Stationery is paper. Did you know that? If you want to buy paper, you can go to a store and buy stationery. You can say, "Hi, do you have any stationery here?" Okay, that means paper. But stationary also means not moving. If something is stationary, that means it's not moving. Like, take a look at this plant, right? This plant is stationary. It's not moving, right? If I'm moving around and I stop, then I'm stationary, right? I'm not moving. Okay, so those are the two meanings. Now, let's read this joke again, and let's try to put all the pieces together to see why this is funny, okay? So no matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary. Now, one thing about jokes that makes them funny is an element of surprise. Okay, if you know the whole joke, it's not going to be funny. If something is surprising in the end, then that's why it's funny, right? So in this joke, it's funny because if we just read the first line, right, no matter how much you push the envelope, every native English speaker would understand that it's the idiom. It's the idiom meaning, right? No matter how much you try to push the limits, right? But then when you read the second half of the joke, you realize, oh, that's not what it meant. It makes you go back and reinterpret the phrase "push the envelope." Okay, so that's why it's funny. No matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary, right? No matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be paper and not moving. Right? I don't know. These kinds of jokes are so hard to explain. Let me know down in the comments if you get it. I hope you get it. I don't know how else I can explain it. But the reason it's funny is because it ends in a way that you don't think it's going to end. Right? Like when I read this the first time, no matter how much you push the envelope, some loud people in my hallway. Okay, so the second half of the joke is the element of surprise. Okay, it's surprising because, and it's funny, is because it interprets the first pun in a way that you weren't expecting, with a second pun of its own, paper and stationary. So no matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary. And like I said, I don't know why the dog is there smiling, wearing a suit. Maybe the dog is trying to push the envelope and trying to become a businessman or something like that. But anyway, I hope you understand. Being an English teacher is not easy because you have to break down pieces of they have to break things down into small pieces like idioms and words and explain the different meanings. We usually take our own languages for granted, right? If you're just speaking your own language, you don't really think about it. But when you have to teach your own language, then it becomes really tricky. And sometimes I'm not sure, how do I explain this? Wow, Anyway, I hope you understand this joke now. Let me know if you understand this joke in a way that I don't understand, and maybe the dog has something to do with it. Okay, so let me know down there. But hey, hope you guys are having a wonderful day wherever you are, and I'll see you over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.